It's 10 o'clock Mountain Time, and this morning we've got to talk about a looming rail strike coming down the pike. Tom and Shane. Tom is in Bozeman, Montana. Shane's in Kamloops, Canada. And we need to remind you we're here every Tuesday and Thursday, 10 a.m. Mountain Time. So don't forget to subscribe, ring the notification bell, like us, and we'll appreciate that very much. So, all right, Shane. Big rail strike. I noticed they waited till after the election to really get down on this train strike.
Well, yeah, of course they did, because it's one of these things that he promised he solved, and then we find out he didn't.
Yeah.
We talked about it before the election. It's just nobody was wanting to talk about it because
The election.
it hurts their narrative and could hurt the election.
Yeah. Well, they put everybody the election sucked all the oxygen out of the room. That's the problem. And now this thing is ready to go off the rails, so to speak, at 9 on December 9th, unless we get some kind of agreement here. We've got 12 unions. 8 of them agreed to the thing, and 4 of them did not. So that's where we find ourselves.
It's just amazing, isn't it? I mean, when you realize that an issue like this isn't being dealt with media response every day from Secretary of Transportation. Oh, no, he's busy at home.
Yeah, he's doing
double
doing
time.
doing things. Yeah, doing things at home. So well, let's talk a little bit about what management offered these guys. It was the biggest union is the conductors. There's 28,000 conductors. There's 24,000 engineers, and there's 1,300 yard masters. 53,000 if we want to round it down, just for easy math. And one of the things that's a sticking point, Shane, is the sick pay.
Mm-hmm.
They want 6 days of sick pay. So if we take 53,000 employees times 6 days, that's 318,000 work days, or 871 years. 53,000 employees times 72 hours. They work 12-hour days. So 6 12-hour days times 6 days, that's 3,816,000 hours. And if we multiply that by $28 an hour, we get $106,848,000 of zero production from those employees. And in addition to that, Shane, they want $1,000 a year extra. So that's another $53 million. So we're at about $160 million as we so look, and that's just for 3 unions. I mean, there's 12 of them. There's 12. So that's the thing there. So they get an immediate 14% raise with back pay dating to 2020, plus raises totaling 24%. And as I mentioned, also they also get the $1,000. So I don't know, Shane, almost a 25% increase in pay. That's pretty good, and it goes back 2 years ago.
Yeah.
So we're gonna be talking about this again at the end of 2023. So or end of 2024. Sorry. So it's only in reality it's a 2-year contract.
Well, the remarkable thing is 2 of these unions, are involved with Burlington Northern, owned by Warren Buffett and Berkshire Hathaway. So he can't be happy about this because, not that making $400 million a week in cash doesn't sort of hurt him, but he's not one to support the labormen. And then, of course, you have this whole situation with the president and his policies because of shipping the most important things, food and gas, and lubricants, oils, particularly oil for the Northeast for winter. All these things come into play. So there's no question that this would be massive. It's one of these things that every week that this would go by would affect your GDP by 1%. And, you're talking about 160 billion in losses from it. Of course, the big ones are, the ones that are complaining the most, right? Like the chemical industry, they're saying, 3M, Dow, DuPont, BP, ExxonMobil, NEI, Lilly. I mean, 2.8 billion a week in failed deliveries or lost revenue. So 160 billion within a week. Can you imagine what that do to the economy for if it lasted 2 or 3 weeks? Well, till Christmas.
Oh yeah. Well, Christmas is done if they do this. I don't know. I don't blame the companies. If you're already giving you 24%, and to hold this up over some sick days, and that's really hard for people to see. Because as I mentioned, these guys work 12-hour days. They're 12 on and 24 off, like the firefighters do, and some of the police departments do. So it's a conundrum there. So I don't know.
Well, the other thing too is over 60% of um, what trains carry are containers.
Hmm.
And 11 million every day arrive from seaports, another 2.7 million by rail from Canada and Mexico. So it's an amazing reality when you look at the numbers of how huge this could be. I mean, it's $10,000 to $20,000 right now to run a container from China to the United States, 15-day trip. The ship costs about $1,500 a day
Hmm.
uh, to do it. So it's pretty remarkable when you look at these cargo ships. I mean, they carry 24,000 of these containers at a time.
Yeah.
So, this is a major trade route to the consumer of the world. But I don't know. It's so strange to me about how the government handle, well, your government or the policy of your government is handling it. It's like they don't think it's important. Like,
Yeah. Well.
So then they decide, well, we'll interfere because we believe in
Mhm.
the working man, and the new leader of the Democratic
Mhm.
Party, passed legislation to stop the strike and send it on to the Senate, which
Mhm.
it'll never get by in the Senate. So all
Yeah.
political issues being thrown right in your face.
Yeah. Well, let's talk about that for a second. What power does Congress have to stop the strike? Well, Article 1, Section 8, Clause 3 of the U.S. Constitution states that the Congress shall have the power to regulate commerce with foreign nations and among the several states and the Indian tribes. And in 1917, the Supreme Court confirmed that Congress has the authority to intervene in all rail labor disputes that threaten to disrupt interstate commerce. So that's the because I was wondering about that till I looked it up, Shane, as to why what power does the government have to stop people or make people go to work? I guess you can stop them from working with the COVID situation, but
Well, yeah,
now you got to force them to go back.
you would think so, but I mean, you try and understand it, and they don't seem to, give it that importance. That's the sad.
Yeah. Well, I think it would be sad if they did go on strike, because if one of these 12 unions go on strike, they'll all respect the picket lines, and they'll all be out, all 12 of them. So there won't be any two-man teams in locomotives to haul the freight. There won't be any rail workers to fix the rails, and there won't be anybody to clean and maintain the trains. And they're just going to sit. And 30% of everything we do comes by rail. The rest goes by truck, of course. So, but yeah, it's quite a mess. And Bruce weighs in. Ronald Reagan fired all the flight control workers. That's true. And maybe Biden will fire all the rail workers.
I don't think you get away with that.
Don't think he'll. Don't think he'll do that.
The other thing that's important to recognize, this isn't just about commercial shipping; it's also about passenger lines.
That's
And
true. Yeah.
in the Northeast, 60% of the people that move on a daily basis, to work to
Yeah.
Washington D.C. or New York or wherever they are,
Mhm.
particularly from Connecticut and Delaware and so forth, New Jersey, uh,
Yeah.
will find themselves without a way to get to work. Like,
Yeah.
how incredible would that be?
Yeah. Well, there's always Uber.
That's true.
Yeah, they can Uber from New Jersey to DC or Virginia to DC or wherever they happen to be. So, well, all those rich jobs, come on, those government jobs, they got a car allowance, I'm sure, so they'll be set. And the
Well,
other thing too,
now,
Shane, hang on, the other thing too is we've got a government shutdown about a week after that, this rail
that's right. If
strike.
they, if they don't kick the can down the road and get
Yeah,
another omnibus resolution passed to fund your government.
yeah, they'll have. We'll be sitting there with a another. Oh, none of the monuments will be open or anything like that. So
Well, I think they'll fund it till January and then force the Republicans to deal with it. That's what
mhm.
I see happening. The Democrats right now.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
and
Well,
then create a
as
problem for the Republicans in the first of the year.
yeah, as Bruce rightly points out, Congress is passing a resolution based on the September agreement, and yeah, they're not going to add any amendments to this because it's going to have to go back to the full unions, all 12 of them, to vote again, and they're not going to get that done by December 9th. So
No.
this sick day thing is the one thing they've got to work that out somehow.
Well, yeah, and the other thing that's so fascinating with the negotiations from September is aside from buttoning their nose to the government, they up the ante.
Hmm.
They've asked now for more.
Yeah.
So the government agreed for what they wanted before, and they said no because they figured, well, if it was easy to get that, let's go
Yeah.
for it all now.
Yeah. Yeah. I was going to say, if they come out of this with a 24% pay raise, an extra $1,000 a year, and uh, what else we get? 14% back pay till back to 2020, 2 years payback.
Yeah, that's right. Well,
That's a pretty Merry Christmas,
it is.
I would say.
I remember 40 years ago when the technology allowed them to put a black box on the last car so they could get rid of the caboose and three
Yeah.
conductors, right? And but it took
Mhm.
2 years institute
Mhm.
the technology because the
Yeah.
unions tried to block it, and so
Hmm.
they've got long memories about getting booted by
Yeah.
technology, and it's all coming because within the next
Hmm.
10 years trains will all be run by AI. They'll be
Yeah.
artificial intelligence will run the engines more efficiently and
Hmm.
safely, and cameras and whatever
Hmm. Yeah.
galore. And then you remember 6 months ago the video we saw and the reporting we saw these trains passing through urban cities and people jumping on them and
Hmm.
busting open the doors and dumping stuff out on the
Yeah. Yeah.
railroad.
Robbing the train as it drives through your neighborhood.
That's
What,
right. That's
what
it.
could go wrong?
What could go wrong? Well, you smash your television screen.
Yeah, I know. Yeah. Well, that's what I say. 30% of this commerce and anything of weight, is going to travel by rail. So yeah, I don't know if they're shipping jewelry or not, but they're shipping washing machines and automobiles and tools and all kinds of stuff like that. So yeah, it's I haven't heard of the break-ins recently, but it was open season there for a while through LA.
That's right. And a 3 week strike will cause real industrial problems because of lubricants.
Mhm.
Without lubricants, you don't have any industry.
Yeah, you don't have anything.
Because you can't produce anything without ball bearings, and you need the
Hmm.
lubricant for ball bearings. So
Yeah.
the effects, not just on the on the economy for industry, but then you have this whole issue
Mhm.
with inflation. So all of a sudden now, with inflation at 15 to 18%, although they're saying it's at 8.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
your wonderful Fed chairman came out and lied again.
Mhm.
Now you can see inflation on food alone could, pop to 20% or more because of,
Well, yeah.
it not being around.
Well, that's what I say. Grain's going to be hauled by freight.
Coal.
They're not going to, coal is the other one. But yeah, our wheat, corn, all of that stuff's goes by rail. So yeah, the food shortages could be a situation over time. And going into the Christmas season with anemic store shelves, not good.
Well, the fascinating thing about it is that supply and demand, which Craig wants to know what's the cause of inflation is supply
Hmm.
and demand.
Yeah.
What the
Hmm.
government's doing right now, Powell, your Fed chairman, is he's driving
Hmm.
Americans away from a consumption of want and
Hmm.
driving to just drive them to a consumption of need.
Yeah.
And when you do that, when you direct uh, sales or consumption, you're going to create inflation.
Hmm.
And of course, the balance of that becomes wages. So all this accelerates the recession you're in. And,
Hmm.
this whole talk about a soft landing, I mean, this is the black swan that we talk about that could really
Hmm.
create a deeper recession and force a lot of people, on television and financial people and everyone is, I don't
Hmm.
know if we're in a recession. I
Yeah.
don't know. Maybe it's next year or, well,
Mhm.
it'll be in your face, baby, by Christmas. So
Yeah.
don't ignore this Christmas rally because it is. It's not for
True.
real. But
Yeah.
combined with
Hmm.
it being a bear market and these short cover rallies on top of that, you'll
Hmm.
have an opportunity to liquidate and go to cash because remember, your first loss is your best loss.
That's true. Yeah. Well, I should remind Craig. Yeah, the government does have the ability to shut down. Article 1, Section 8, Clause 3 in the U.S. Constitution gives them that authority. And in 1917, the Supreme Court confirmed that Congress has the authority to intervene in rail disputes that threaten to disrupt interstate commerce. So they have every right to be there. So nothing wrong with that. So, but
Well, the
well,
thing I just want everybody to realize that the whole difference of policy is important. Yes, Trump did pump trillions into your market. He
mhm,
rebuilt your military and several other areas, but he reduced regulation. And having done that, the
mhm,
response was immediate, and the economy started to expand.
yeah,
So while there was money that was provided, and especially during COVID, people kept their jobs for the most part because they stayed at home if they could,
mhm,
but they saw it as an opportunity to regain and reduce their debt, which they did. The Americans paid off 700 billion in credit card debt. A lot of stuff happened that was positive because of policy changes regarding regulation.
mhm,
We're not seeing that now. I mean, they keep
yeah,
talking about it. The
mhm,
Democrats. Oh, I guess we do have a problem now with crime. Did you notice that this week?
yeah,
About that. Oh, and did you notice that the mayor of New York has now decided to institutionalize the homeless if they're a danger to themselves or others?
mhm,
Remember what was it 9 months ago? We talked about utilizing the military because it's a huge government medical uh, infrastructure that veterans have, and it's I don't think you can take away from the veterans anything, but I mean, as room and everything opens up because the veterans are passing on now, and even our generation, right? So
mhm,
at some point, that you don't want to have an empty shell of the largest medical services in the world is for in your country for the military, and it should be utilized.
yeah. Well, the other thing too, this is a double-edged sword for the Democrats. One is going against the unions. If they're going to go against the unions, that's the third rail. That's like going against senior citizens with Social Security. So that's he's got to walk some kind of a tightrope here. Uh, they're going to have to get either 3 sick days or 4 sick days or something out of this. And the other thing is, if you're going to give your employees 25% more money, then that's got to be passed on somewhere. So it's going to be passed on to the onto the store shelves is where it's going to be passed on to, and that's going to increase the inflation that we already have. So, even if they resolve this thing, that money is still there. That agreement's in place, so that's going to happen. So
Well, yeah,
look for your peanut butter to be 10 cents more, or
that's right.
whatever. Yeah.
And of the 32 quarters that Trump oversaw of your economy during his presidency, better than half, over 16 of those quarters had 6 to 8% GDP growth. Not all of them. It leveled out to between 4 and 6, but it's still far greater than what you're looking at now.
Yeah, that's for sure.
With the economic collapse now happening in China, uh, there's no time left for people not to move now because of the years it takes to build facilities to produce product. People, corporations plan for 10, 20, 30 years for this stuff.
No, that's true. Yeah. So it's well, we'll see what's going to happen. The House passed it, sent it to the Senate. So they will more than likely vote on it quite quickly, and certainly before the 9th, because they've still got to deal with the government shutdown as well. So we'll see where that goes. So,
but I don't see the unions, obliging whatever they pass.
Well, they don't have to. I mean, they don't have to go to work. I mean, you can tell them they can go to work. You can fire them, but then what do? You're still in the same boat.
Well, they're looking for workers now. How can they afford to get rid of the ones they've got?
So that's what I say.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah. The unions have a lot of pull on this. They really do, and that's why I prefer unions in the public sector rather than in the private sector rather than the public sector, because the companies can increase prices and pay people, where the only way a public union can pay people more is more taxes on us. So
well, that's right. And new people coming into this industry, the railroad industry, of course, it's a 4 to 6 year process to become a full member of the union and get your card, get your plaque, whatever you want to call it. So it's one of these issues that no one has a conversation about all the downside to it, and how individual people's lives are going to be massively affected.
Yeah, they will. That's for sure. So, well, we'll see. Even if this does not happen, I think it's still going to slow down Christmas somewhat. Although Black Friday turned out to be pretty good, but if it's already Cyber Monday's already passed too, but those people haven't gotten their stuff yet. So.
Well, that's the other side of it. Good point, because we all know that retail, particularly in your country, had more than enough stock already, plus from last year or from the summer and fall.
Yeah.
Number one, and number two, you still go to the stores now and see shelves empty, and that was with a seemingly reasonable trade, or trade transport system working. I can't imagine, how bad it'll be. Although I did predict this, so I'm trying to be positive. We'll see, but the numbers aren't good, Tom, and they're getting worse. And individual companies that most people recognize are having real problems. And this last quarter, I don't think they're going to be good numbers when we come into January and February.
Yeah. Well, particularly with China's issues and what's going on, the upheaval in Europe. It's not going to be good, I don't think, Shane.
No, I don't. Yeah. That's one of the problems.
All right. Well, we've probably done all the damage we can do here, Shane, I guess.
I don't know if it's damage, but we had a conversation about it, and
well, that's true.
we provide the content and we provided the information people need to have to understand what is going on here, and that's what makes it so much fun. You know, you and I are more than prepared to do the research and evaluate it and put it together in a commentary that is reasonable. We don't argue about anything. We're just putting it out there and trying to create,
take it or leave it.
Trying to create an understanding of what the results may or may not be.
So all right, let me remind you, we're here every Tuesday and every Thursday at 10 a.m. Mountain Time. This is, of course, Thursday. Don't forget to subscribe, ring the notification bell, and like us. You'll find the subscribe button down in the lower right-hand corner on your screen, or you'll also see it below the video if you're watching this after we're off the air. We really appreciate our new subscribers that have recently joined us, and we appreciate you guys very much. So thanks for doing that. And we also need to remind you for sure that the award-winning Tom and Shane, we're on radio live every Saturday, 8 to 11 Mountain Time. Listen live at kmmsam.com. You can hear us anywhere in the world. You can call us. You can text us. You can click listen now. Nothing to join, no signups, no email, none of that malarkey, as the president likes to say. And our past shows are also at kmmsam.com. Just click on Tom and Shane's podcast. You'll see all of our podcasts. We just recently went over 10,000 downloads of our shows, so we're very proud of that, of course. And well, let's certainly hope that they get this thing resolved, Shane, because if not, it's going to be a mess. So,
well, they'll get it resolved. It's just going to cost a lot.
It's going to cost a lot of money.
We'll watch it, because once it's settled, then we can make some guided, anticipated results to it.
Yeah.
And we'll have that conversation, because that's what we're
we will. All right, that's going to wrap it up for us. Hey, thanks so much for watching. Don't forget to subscribe, ring the notification bell, and like us, and we'll see you on our next podcast, and we'll talk to you on the radio on Saturday.